Hey everybody, welcome back to the More Memories Creative Workshop. It's me, William Xavier, and this session, moving into Cozumel, what I'm going to be doing is setting up my base pages, and you can see I've got a lot of inking stuff out, because what I'm going to do for this, I'm kind of waiting for one thing to come in the mail to kind of do my ripped paper part. But what I'm going to do is actually stencil and with ink kind of a corner border for both the two-page spread. So the left page is going to be in the lower left corner, and on the right page it's going to be in the upper right corner. And to give you an idea of what I'm going to do, I went ahead and got my right side ready for that. So here we're going to use two different stencils, and I'm going to walk us through, or I'm going to just kind of talk about how I did the musical instrument ones, and we're going to make the left side border. Okay. So that's just our visual of what we're aiming to do. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside briefly. So I've got a lot of my supplies. I got my blending brushes here. I've got my ink pads. I've got inking tape, and I've got my stencils. This is the Starry Bloom stencil that just came out the other week ago. So I'm obviously using that for the flowers. And then I'm using the Holiday Classic stencil for the tile squares. I've got those ready to go. For the musical instruments, I did two things. One is that I used my Cricut to Cricut out maracas, because we don't have any, in Creative Memories, we don't have any maraca punches or anything, so I had to get it really kind of small to, coincide with the size of the guitar knockout from the Rock On BMC. So these are about an inch and a quarter, I believe. But I also needed it to work with the size of the square in the stencil, which is a 3/4 by 3/4 square. So I did have to kind of figure out that a little bit. And then what I also just did, I have some music notes punched out from the Music Notes BMC, as well as a non-Creative Memories punch that's just this kind of nice little music note that I might intersperse in there as well. And put that to the side. So, in another video, there's, I talk about a lot of punches that could be used with inking to make our own stencils. And even in one of the earlier videos for Half Moon Key, I did that same principle using the Footprints BMC to ink footprints along the edge of the page, right, as if they were footprints in the sand. So same kind of principle here. I just knocked them out of, this is just paper, cardstock paper from a multi-pocket page that I didn't need, so I took them out, put my photos in, and I have these extra kind of 6x4 cardstocks to play with at times. So I will typically use them a lot in this fashion of testing out a punch and seeing how it might look on a layout. But it's also a great tool to have just a stencil for things that you might not have a stencil for if you want to ink. And all those. Okay. So, working with my page, right, I want the flowers in the lower left and then the tiles to come up and along the bottom. But I'm not going to go the whole length. I'm going to kind of stop. I'm going to make a couple of tiles longer on the bottom and it'll be shorter on the side here. Okay. So one thing that I like to kind of do for this type of idea is I'm going to take my stencil with a pencil first, and I'm going to just outline in the stencil kind of what I'm thinking for, placement. How do I want things to look? And I'm just going to go in a very light pencil line within the stencil. Right? Just to kind of get placement of things a bit down a bit, right? So and this is, again, right, just to help me kind of think through, ultimately where I'm going to want certain things. So I just did the flowers. I'm doing this leaf that I'm going to want. Trying to, kind of decide where do I want this ultimately. Or do I want that there? And the pencil is helpful, right? Because if I don't like it, I'm going to just erase it. I don't like it. And we're going to erase it. And we're going to try again. I'm going to get one more. I think in here. I just think it would really work flipped. But I don't know how I'm going to necessarily do that without getting all that ink on there. So we're going to, it's still a little close to that one. And then this will also help me later when I'm actually, aiming to place my stencil around. Okay. Now I've got the square part of the holiday classic stencil. Right. Yeah, I didn't take off the tape from using it on the other page because I figured why. So, and I'm going to do the same thing here just to kind of get an idea of kind of my placement, where I'm wanting things to be. And this will also help me later when I'm going along with my inks, right? Because I'm extending the bottom here. And the distance between is about, it's 1 1/4. It's the next line after 1 1/4. I forget that measurement mark. But so I can line up my stencil correctly. I'm gonna have to do it this way. And so long as I kind of do this now, I will be pretty much set later when I'm actually inking. 6. I'm going to do 6 here. Okay. Turn. This one will be easier because I'm just going to do 4 on the side. So I don't even have to necessarily mark these, but and even when I'm actually going to go do it, I might just pull this in a little bit, down a little bit more, because it's a little bit closer here. I don't want it so far away there. So we've got that. Awesome. Next, right, is going to be taping our stencil. So I've already gone and taped this one, right? So why don't we take a little time and tape our flowers. Which will be another task because we're actually using a couple of them, so that's all right. So I'm just taking the inking tape, right, and I'm going to cut a little strip here to kind of get into some of these spaces that I'm not wanting my ink to go into. Also trying to be mindful of how it might kind of fall into the stencil a bit. So I want to make sure that I don't have it in there. So I might just give that a little rip. I can see already I don't have that one placed very well. So this can be one of the more tedious parts of everything, is getting your stencil taped off, but it pays off in the long run because you then won't have ink going every which way. I'm just going to put this piece down here, and we'll do a quick piece for these stars over on the side and on one part of the flower, because we're not going to need that to get inked yet. That set, and we'll have to do a little extra when we get to it later on. But first, I'm going to get my tiles done here. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to give myself a piece of tape to secure it to my mat. So I'm going to push my paper up. Right, so when I got it right where I want it, I'm just going to take some tape here, put it along so that it doesn't shift. Right, if I wanted to, I can also do another piece at the top with this tape. It's not going to hurt the page. It's going to just peel right off real easily. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see more of what I'm going to do next with everything. So I'm going to get some repo tape on the knockout of the guitar and of the maracas. Yeah. And I'm going to place them on the inside because I'm wanting to have that effect where the instrument comes off the edge of the tile. So I'm just placing them in that way. Okay. And another thing to think about and to definitely test out on scrap paper. This is a piece of beige cardstock because it's kind of similar to the Spargo page. Gave me an idea of how the colors might look on the page itself. So I did some test blending, and then I kind of mapped out the order of the tiles here along the edge, just as a little makeshift of like what the colors might look like, because I wanted to figure that part out. And that was just me taking the tip of the ink pad and just marking it lightly onto the cardstock to see. So that's kind of my reference point. I'm going to be doing potter's clay with cottage ivy, then cantaloupe, then teal zeal, and then repeat that pattern along the bottom here. So I'm just going to get my potter's clay brush, just get my brushes in order here of what I'm going to need. So then I'm going to just pop open my ink. I'm going to get some ink on my brush, and I'm just applying it directly because I am wanting a deep color. And I'm just going to start shading with my, with my brush in that stencil box. And I'm just going to keep getting ink onto the brush as I need it. And I'm just going to keep shading until I feel I've got the color I'm aiming for. Okay, cap up my ink, and then I can move on to the next color. Do the same thing. Ink on the brush. And actually, I forgot something real quick. I'm going to get a piece of tape, and I'm going to tape off just this part here because my brush is going to end up coming over, and I don't want that to happen. Again, I'm just keep applying to get the shading color deep depth that I'm looking for. Remove this tape, I'm going to need it. I can then position these into the next couple of boxes. And I'm kind of going with an offset pattern. Right? You see I have the guitar going in one angle direction and this one I want it in the other. The maracas are going to be in the middle for this one. Right, I'm going to get my piece of tape here. I'm going to get next up is the cantaloupe. And I can see I'm getting that little brush over there. So what I'm actually going to do is get myself another piece of tape. Just put over here so I don't keep running into that. And now I'm going to do the same thing. Now with the lighter colors, it's going to be a little bit more, or take a little bit longer with the lighter colors, I should say. Oh, I think I need more repo on you. So that sticks. Just because it is lighter, it's going to take a little bit longer to show up. But it will. You might not be able to see it in the light, it's there. And we're just gonna swap this over to here. Get the teal is next. And let me just start. Okay. And so then all I have to do, right, is just gently lift up. Take off my pieces. Here. Okay. And then I shift it a bit here. I can line up. And then place to repeat. And what I noticed, I think, is that the pencil line started to bleed a little bit, especially with the cantaloupe here. So I'm just gonna come in and erase it so that it's not an issue. Okay, then I got the maracas next. So the maracas. Need a little bit more repo. Those go that way. And then guitar. Go that way. Okay. And I'm going to repeat back to potter's clay. And almost forgot to give myself a little coverage here. And actually I'm going to give coverage some more over here, just in case it's a little... Okay. I'm going to remove these. Swap out over to over here and over here. Because I don't want my brush to get crazy. And back to my green. Okay. All right. So we got this row almost finished. So I'm just going to lift this up gently. Oh, and I have a little smudge here from something. That happens. I don't know. I'm a little new for stenciling. So sometimes, no matter how careful I am, I end up with a smudge somewhere. So really, I'm okay. I can figure out what I'm going to do about that some other time. Okay. Next, I'm going to get my card with my maracas and with the punch out of the guitar. I'm going to get the Toffee Crunch Memento ink. And similar to, what I just did, I'm going to use these as stencils and place them over and stencil in with the Toffee Crunch. So I'm just going to line it up to where I had the cutout. And because I'm working with a large, a large enough piece, I'm not going to tape it down. And I just have a very sensitive piece here, right? It easily shifts and moves. So I don't really want to overly stress it. So I'm just trying to be very light. I'm actually, blending more in a kind of a downward type of motion rather than the circular. Oh, I even got some repo tape still stuck there. Take that off. And if I'm curious, right, I can just lift up real quick, kind of see where I'm at. I'm wanting these a little bit darker. So I'm going to keep shading. Okay. I'm going to move on to the next one. And I thought I had gotten all that repo off just there. So I'm going to come back real quick and get this part shaded in. There we go. Now, same thing, line it up. And then ink it up. Let you see how dark. I might want it a little bit darker. So give it a little bit more ink, especially on this right side here. Okay. And then this one, okay. I think that's gonna be good. And then I'm just gonna do the same thing with the guitar. As you can see, I did put tape on it because, right, making it a stencil, I had to cover up, you know, to get the paper aligned in there, you know. There's a star right next to it, and I wanted enough space to be able to use it as a stencil and do this. So I also didn't want overlap onto spaces that should not have inked spots. So okay. Lift up, and there's my guitar. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move along to some other pieces. I'm going to go back later and finish up the rest. Let's kind of look at this flower part here. And kind of start work on that one. So we'll get our flower stencil. Oh, it's here. And we'll just fit it back in to where it was. Yep. I'm going to cut another piece of tape so that I can have it secured to the page in a couple of spots. And I'm going to cover that because I have a feeling that'll get... Okay. That I am going to get, there's the smaller blue one, and I'm gonna cut just a small piece and to a square there. And I'm doing that for this middle part. Instead of using a brush, I'm actually just going to take the dandelion ink and I'm going to take the tip and I'm going to stick the tip just in that middle part. Just enough to get it really yellow. And I'm just going to get a paper towel and just dab up the ink that's on the stencil part. I'm going to take this little piece of blue tape and I'm going to position it right underneath, onto the page. So that way it covers that while I'm then able to ink the rest of the entire flower. For that, I'm going to also use Summer Sky, and I'm going to go over with Summer Sky first. Let me remove the pencil lines, because it might start to make a weird color with the blue, the Summer Sky blue. It's light. It's fine. And I'm just going to get some Summer Sky on here. And I'm just going to start shading in. Actually, get some extra tape. I'm going to tape off right here because I'm thinking I'm going to end up with some brush marks on my jeeping. Okay. I've got fairly decent shading in here. Now I'm going to switch over to my teal zeal and continue shading in. And I've added that Summer Sky just to kind of add just a little bit of a lighter tone in here. thinking that's going to be good. Of course, I can always lift up my stencil and just check. Yeah, I think that's going to be really nice. So, I'll take you off. I'm just going to get some of the excess ink that's on the stencil off here. And then we're just going to clear off some of the other flour that we're going to use. We need a little extra tape over here. Nope, wrong flour. I think wrong flour. No, wait. Which flour did I use? Did I use this one? No. I used the one that I taped up. Okay. That's okay. Figuring it out. Okay. If you might hear some weird cooing noises in the background, that would be Bella Grace. She is joining me a little bit this evening, running amok down here with me. So, I don't know what she's finding to hunt down here, but she is finding something. So. Some more of this over here, just because I know brush strokes can get a bit out of hand. I'm going to remove this piece and I'm going to reuse it. And so then again, I'm just going to line up my stencil. How did I have that? This way. Okay, I'm gonna get that set down. I'm gonna do the middle real quick. And then I'm going to replace that piece of tape. I know it's going to be a bit smaller. Oops, I need to move that over a little bit more. So I'm just using tweezers to help move some of this around a bit. I'm just going to get into the corner there, push that tape in so I don't get a weird mark or weird, yeah. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Nope, I'm going to tape off the edge here so that I don't accidentally get that flower any extra shading. Same thing. Oop, I've got a little piece I have to tape off again that I didn't realize. I'm not really going to use that petal, so I need to come in with tape. There. Now I'm good to go. With my summer sky, real quick. get my teal. Okay. There we go. All right, and then we got one more to do. So we're gonna get in position here. Pretty sure that's how I had that, right? Okay. Once again, get my center done. Get my little center tape on. Just push in these corners. Okay. And need another quick piece here. I'm not going to do this petal. All right. Got my summer sky. And then the teal. Okay. Gently peel back our tape. And here we've got that flower corner. It turned out really, really nice. I'm really, really happy. I'll try to zoom in a bit more. You can kind of then see how nice it really blended and shaded on those petals. So I'm really, really happy with that. So the other thing I did quickly is that I wanted to have a little bit more definition for all these elements. So what I ended up doing was taking my micro tip brown pen my creative memories, and just outlining. Just outlining the pieces. Where did I put? And so I took my template again with the maracas, right? And I came around and I just went along that edge to give an outline. Just to kind of give it a little help with, being seen. Okay. And then I did the same with the guitar. If I can, here's my guitar. Okay, so for the instruments, right, I did come back and use this template again. Just lined it up. And just went over it. And just did, some touch-ups in some areas. And then I also did the same for the square tiles themselves. So I went along the edge, kind of freehand. Just kind of hugging where the ink meets the paper. I'm not too overly concerned about like having a pure straight line or not. But that's just me. If you want, certainly you could use the stencil again. You could use any other straight edge that you have. And then I added some extra details to the instruments themselves. So I took a black fine tip marker pen, and I kind of just made the circle in the middle of the guitar. I took my Creative Memories green micro tip and a kind of another red micro tip as well. For the maracas, I made just green stripes along the top. And close to the handle on the bottom. And then with the red, I alternated a design of either diamonds or a zigzag. So let me think here. Diamonds, zigzag, diamond. This would be diamonds. And I'm just free-handing these in the middle. And then I took my brown again, and for the guitar, I just kind of gave a couple of quick lines along the arm and down to the black middle, 4 strings. I then also outlined with the same brown the flower, the middle, the leaves as well. So everything got outlined in brown to kind of just help it kind of have a standout appearance. Try to give you can kind of see it here on this page. So that's what I'm going to end up doing. And then I'm gonna figure out where I might place some music notes interspersed. So what I'll do is I'll finish this up and definitely post a completed picture so that we can all see the final outcome. So hopefully you learned a little bit about inking and having some fun with inks, and hopefully you'll try inking. Don't be afraid of inking. Like I said, I'm not any proficient person whatsoever, as we can see, right? But I'm learning as well. And I know if I make a little mistake like this, inevitably there's going to be something I can figure out within the page to either cover that up or reduce our eyes going there. So definitely try on scrap paper, try all different types of things. Inking, try, just, even if it's just computer paper, try just with the stencil and with the taping off of areas so that you kind of get used to some of that type of thing. Holding the ink pad and just going across a piece of paper just to kind of see what that's like, and how light will it be, how much force can you give to get the effect that you want. Try all sorts of things before you move into wanting to create something that's going to go into one of your pages, especially if you're going to go right on a standard page. Definitely practice some pieces first, and then give it a go. But yes, you'll definitely want inking tape to tape off stencils, to tape off parts that you don't want to have unnecessarily inked. But like I said, I'll figure something out for that part. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed, and again, I hope you learned something as well. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to your favorite advisor. We're always here and happy to help, and hope you stay well and safe, and as always, happy scrapping, and I'll see you next time.